Jesteś gotowy? Czy masz jaja? Co za badziew.
Inside a hidden warehouse, Damien meets with a gang leader to claim his cut of illicit goods meant for resale. The boss, however, grows suspicious of Damien's nervous demeanor. Pulling him aside, he reveals he's aware that someone in the gang has been leaking information, and he believes it's Damien. Although Damien tries to act clueless, the boss reveals he knows Damien is actually an undercover cop. With his cover blown, Damien draws his weapon and begins fighting back, using both firearms and hand-to-hand combat to fend off the attacking goons. After subduing a group of enemies who attack together, Damien accidentally steps into the path of an oncoming car and gets struck. Despite being badly hurt, he remains conscious and pursues the gang boss with the intent to arrest him. But the boss reveals that once the gang discovered Damien's identity, they also uncovered details about his wife. Fearing the worst, Damien races back home, only to find her already murdered. Years later, Simon, now a schoolteacher, begins a new class and notices one of his students is absent for a second day in a row. His classmates explain the boy has fallen into drug addiction. Amelia, a former addict herself, had tried to help him, but he didn't listen. At that moment, Simon's son, Camille, gets a call from the boy's mother. Her son has been found dead. It's not the first time tragedy has struck the school, which is plagued by the circulation of illegal substances. Fed up with watching students succumb to addiction, Simon calls his longtime friend Damien for help. But Damien, now struggling with alcoholism and dismissed from the police force, lets the call go to voicemail. Since his wife's death, he's spiraled into a pit of grief and self-destruction. That night, Damien resolves to get himself together and pays Simon a visit. Simon fills him in on the school's problems, unaware that Camille is secretly listening. But Damien turns down the request, admitting he's too broken to help anyone. Later, at a convenience store, Damien is approached by three punks who try to rob him. At first, he politely asks for his wallet back, but when they mock him, he quickly fights back using nearby objects as weapons. Another customer, fed up with the commotion, tosses Damien a bottle of whiskey to get him to leave. Meanwhile, Simon follows up on a lead to a warehouse mentioned by a student. As soon as he arrives, he's ambushed. The next morning, Damien wakes up to devastating news: Simon's body has been discovered in the same warehouse. The authorities claim he was the mastermind behind the drug operation and took his own life out of guilt. Damien knows this isn't true. Determined to prove his friend's innocence, he heads to Simon's house, ignoring the crowd of reporters. Thanks to connections in the force, he's allowed inside, where he comforts Simon's widow and reassures her that her suspicions are valid. Her husband was framed. When a detective cruelly taunts Camille about his criminal father, Camille lashes out, forcing Damien to step in and defend the boy's emotional outburst. Realizing he has to act, Damien reaches out to a shady contact for fake identification papers. Posing as a job candidate, he visits the school under the pretense of applying to fill Simon's vacant teaching role. The school secretary tries to warn him off, citing the school's dangers, but their conversation is interrupted by Principal Lesek, who hires Damien due to a lack of other applicants. Lesek assures him the school is now protected by private security. He then introduces Agata, his deputy, who is tasked with showing Damien around once he starts. On Damien's first day, he sees a student named Jero stealing flowers from the memorial dedicated to the deceased student. When Damien confronts him, Jero calls on his gang associate Mammoth to intimidate him. Mammoth, however, is shy and reluctant. Before things escalate, Security Chief Kmielski arrives and sends the boys to the principal's office. He also questions Damien, but Agata vouches for him. Later, she gives Damien a tour of the school, introducing him to other staff like the chemistry teacher Stefan. Damien's class proves unruly, but he quickly asserts control. One disruptive student, Frogface, refuses to behave, and Agata calls in security to escort him out. As he's being taken away, Frogface ominously threatens to deal with Agata later. That evening, Frogface and his gang confront Agata in the parking lot, having stolen her car keys. As they threaten her, Damien, who just discovered his tires were slashed, approaches with a colleague. He jumps in and defeats the gang despite being outnumbered and slightly injured. Agatha tends to his wound and inquires about his past, prompting Damien to deflect by teaching her basic self-defense techniques. Meanwhile, the gang brings Frogface to Jero, who operates as a mid-level dealer under a mysterious biker, revealed to be Kmielski. His security job is a front to facilitate drug distribution in the school. Jero punishes Frogface for his recklessness and orders Mammoth to beat him, hoping it will toughen him up and help him fit in. The next day, Damien finds his car being towed, but Principal Lesek praises him for standing up to the gang and offers to cover the costs. Still, Kmielski remains suspicious of Damien's combat skills. In class, the leaked security footage of the parking lot brawl goes viral among students, who are now enamored with Damien. They beg him for fighting lessons. Amused, he offers a challenge: if any student can beat him in sparring, there'll be no final exam. Naturally, none succeed, but they enjoy the session, and Damien notices Camo watching from a distance before slipping away. Damien follows